Good with it. Welcome to today's Seidokan Saturday. More bunkai for Pinan Sandan. And again, as I said, I see it primarily, not entirely and exclusively, because nothing is all one thing, but I see it primarily as a grappling kata. And in the bunkai we did last week, we could easily have done a right side and left side of the exact same thing. For instance, if James is coming up, and this could be a choke, could be a double lapel grab. We could do it from just the same attack on both sides either way. But let's just assume for the sake of argument, he's, why I oughta, and he's got you by the lapels, right? So I could do the same thing on one side, this way. And then here I would be, again, pulling his arm. This is a little bit different because I grabbed the near hand. So I could do it both near hand, break the elbow, or pull him down and make that a back fist to the face. And then the same thing, far hand, same thing, pull him down, or opposite hand. So I did the same on both sides. Or I could do the same thing on both sides with the technique that I did last week. I could do the same thing with a punch, right, on both sides. Do the exact same technique, then a left punch, hey, and now I'm doing the exact same thing on both sides, okay? Which, technically, if you want to get real specific, that's kind of what the kata is indicating, is it's a two-handed, like a wrist grab attack or whatever, and I'm doing the same thing on both sides. But for the sake of being able to address a multiplicity of attacks, while my technique is essentially the same of bending, breaking, twisting the elbow, either the inside of the elbow or, on the opposite hand, the outside of the elbow, okay? Either way, I'm doing essentially the same thing, but I like to give my students a variety of potential attacks. So that's why I did one from a grab, one from a punch. We could have easily done both from a chokehold, right? So I could go this way from a chokehold, do the same thing, go this way from a chokehold, do the same thing. And again, if he's resisting, especially like he's got his fingers tight in under here, as I step to do my block here, if he's holding on while I'm in a cat stance, that allows me to loosen it up a little bit to get that first block before I come in and finish. So levels of resistance are important to add as we move into this so you can find what are the necessary extra releases. All right, so just for last week, kind of give you an idea where those go. The next move in our version of Pinan Sandan is block, punch. Pretty straightforward, right? But again, and I was really pleased last weekend in Oklahoma. Was it last weekend? Has it been a week, 2 weeks? Whatever it was, when Sensei Donnie Hayhurst was working, and one of the things that he did to help understand Seison was look historically back and at other related versions of it. And in most, or not most, in many other styles of Pinan Sandan, after we've gone here, it's actually a morote uke and then a block and nukite, where we simply do a single block and a punch. But I believe that morote uke informs us of something that is the grappling nature of Pinan Sandan. So I am going to have him start with a punch instead of a grab this time, again, just for variety. It could be a roundhouse punch, could be a punch to the head. He could just as easily have grabbed my lapel. He could have crossed. Doesn't really matter a whole lot because I can use, essentially, my body movement doesn't change too much. Okay, so the punch comes, hey, I do my block. From here, this is a punch, which if I stay in place, is just a punch. But the kata tells me, in the other versions, this position, which I've addressed before, indicates a grab. Since in our system we're not doing this grab and then the step through and spear, we're doing a block, I'm going to hikite, pull. As I step to my punch, it becomes across his body. The next move in the kata is my hand comes down and I turn. Now, this is a basic judo throw called osotogari. So I block, I come through, and here I could sweep the leg. That would be what's called the driving version. There was a great judo teacher that showed that each judo throw can be done as a driver or a twister, or I forget what his varieties were. But let's just take, for example, basic osotogari, where I'm controlling his body and then kicking through. But maybe he's got a strong leg, and so instead of just driving through his leg, I might have to rotate to get that throw. So I've turned my driver, or this is a different version, the driver, I would actually walk him forward and then allow him to fall back. But this is a rotating version of the same leg hook. Now, as I've addressed before in judo, if I put my hand here, it's one throw. If I put my hand here, it's another throw. If I grab the belt, it's another. If I come around the head, they changed the name for everything. Remember, Okinawans didn't have names for things. They just said, move like this. It wasn't until the Japanese nomenclature, labeling things like the Lepidopterus, naming the Latin names of all the butterflies and all the flowers and the botanists. Japanese created a language for the movements which sort of stinted their application. That aside, this is the basic movement. I'm blocking, I'm stepping, I'm turning. So he punches, I block hikite instead of straight punching, and I could punch him on my way through. I'm going to come through here, stepping with my oisuki, and then I rotate. Okay? He's down, finish as needed. Same thing from the opposite direction. So the kata move, block, punch, turning, and then this gets us into another movement here. Block, punch, turning. Down he goes, he's right where I want him. I can arm break, punch, kick, stomp, run away, hide, whatever I need to do at that point. Hey, arigatou gozaimasu. That's our bunkai du jour for Pinan Sandan. Simple version, block them, hit them. But if I want to use, instead of gyaku, reverse punch, I want to use the oi, that's where I'm going to come through and toss him to the floor. Hey, thank you for joining. Hopefully that's a variation you can play with as you work on your own applications. We weren't there, we don't know. We're using common principles of engagement, enter, control, dispatch, so that we can create the techniques that the kata gives us. As always, like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, visit my Facebook page, link will be in the description in the bottom, and until next week, that's right, keep practicing.